Hey, welcome to Neighborhood Church Online. My name is Jordan. If this is your first time checking us out, we are so glad you're here. At Neighborhood, we exist to inspire people wherever they are to live like Jesus wherever they go. So no matter who you are or what your story is, we want you to know you are welcome here. Service is just about to begin. And hey, to stay in the loop with everything going on at Neighborhood Church or to take a next step with us, head to ncvisalia.com. For now, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, neighborhood. Let's stand and worship together. I saw Satan fall like lightning. I saw darkness run for cover. But the miracle that I just can't get over, my name is registered in heaven. I believe in signs and wonders. I have resurrection power. Still the miracle that I just can't get over. My name is registered in heaven. Oh, my praise belongs to you forever. with blood and washed in water. Sing the praises of the Spirit, Son, and Father. Our God will finish what He started. Yes, our God will finish what He started. Oh, this is my testimony from death to life. 'Cause grace rewrote my story. I'll testify. By Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. You are my testimony. If I'm not dead, you're not done. Greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. If I'm not dead, you're not done. Greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. If I'm not dead, you're not done. Greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. If I'm not dead, you're not done. Greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. This is my testimony from death to life. 'Cause grace rewrote my story. I'll testify. By Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. Oh, of the Lord. This is my testimony from death to life. 'Cause grace rewrote my story. I'll testify. By Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. You are my testimony, Lord.
Well, hey, good morning and welcome to Neighborhood. If I haven't had the chance to meet you, my name's David. I'm on staff here, and man, I just want to say welcome, and we're glad you're hanging out with us this morning. I just wanted to quickly share a little bit. This week I was reading out of Matthew 6, and if you're new to the whole church and Jesus thing, this is one of Jesus' most famous teachings. It's called Sermon on the Mount. And the portion I was reading was talking about, man, we are faced with so many things that we could worry about in this world. And Jesus goes on and he's saying, yeah, you can worry about this, you can worry about this, you can worry about this. And I think if we're honest with ourselves, that can be a lot of us in this room. But I love the way that he ends this passage, and I would love just to read this over us this morning. It says, but seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow worries about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Man, I just think that's so powerful, because life is hard. There's lots of things that we can worry about, but I do believe that Jesus is bigger than all those things, and he deeply loves and cares about us. And so we get to continue singing here to this morning, and just know that we have a God that loves us. So we're gonna keep on singing right now. Look at the flowers in all of their beauty. I don't have to wonder, you know what you're doing. So why would I worry at all? 'Cause you're faithful to supply everything I need, and everything I need, my Father has it, my Father has it. And every single time the Lord will provide, my Father has it, my Father has it, yeah. Look at the sparrow, lacking for nothing, no fear of tomorrow and what it will bring. If I have you, I have enough, 'cause your love will satisfy. See everything I need, everything I need, my Father has it, my Father has it. And every single time the Lord will provide, my Father has it, my Father has it. So seek first the kingdom and its treasures, and everything else it will be added, and all that I'm needing, 'cause I know the Lord will provide. 'Cause I know my God's not empty-handed, and He gives us blessings upon blessings. I'm still believing, 'cause I know the Lord will provide. So seek first the kingdom and its treasures, and everything else it will be added, and all that I'm needing, 'cause I know the Lord will provide. Say, I know my God's not empty-handed, 'cause He gives us blessings upon blessings, and I'm still believing. So I know the Lord will provide. Say everything I need, and everything I need, my Father has it, my Father has it. And every single time the Lord will provide, my Father has it, my Father has it. And everything I need, and everything I need, my Father has it, my Father has it. And every single time the Lord will provide, my Father has it, my Father. So seek first the kingdom and its treasures, and everything else it will be added, and all that I'm needing. So I know the Lord will provide. Yes, He will. So I know my God's not empty-handed, and He gives us blessings upon blessings, and I'm still believing. Say, I know the Lord will provide, and I know the Lord will provide. I know the Lord will provide.
You don't just tolerate us, you don't have somewhere to go. We're not your trophy children you abandon when we roam. Your mercy's not a favor, and your presence isn't rushed. Oh no, our God is love. The cross was not a vehicle for you to finally care. When I look upon your character, your grace was always there. Acceptance not withheld from us, no need to measure up. Oh no, our God is love. His arms are open for all to gather here. The cross has spoken, there's nothing left to fear. Once and for all he showed how far his grace will go for us. Our God is love. How fast the Father's heart for us will never reach the end. I thought for sure I found it, but they proved me wrong again. So much higher, so much wider, so much deeper than we know. Our God is love. His arms are open for all to gather here. The cross has spoken, there's nothing left to fear. Once and for all he showed how far his grace will go for us. Our God is love.
Whatever picture I have isn't big enough. Whatever picture I have isn't good enough. Whatever picture I have doesn't sum you up, couldn't sum you up. Whatever picture I have isn't big enough. Whatever picture I have isn't good enough. Whatever picture I have doesn't sum you up, couldn't sum you
It's overcoming every grade, overwhelming all our shame. It's overflowing, it's overflowing. Our God is love. It's overcoming every grade, overwhelming all our shame. It's overflowing, it's overflowing. Our God is love. It's overcoming every grade, overwhelming all our shame. It's overflowing, it's overflowing. Our God is love. It's overcoming every grade, overwhelming all our shame. It's overflowing, it's overflowing. Our God is love. His arms are open for all to gather here. The cross has broken, there's nothing left to fear. Once and for all he showed how far his grace will go for us. Our God is love. Overcoming every grade, overwhelming all our shame. It's overflowing, it's overflowing. Our God is love. Overcoming every grade, overwhelming all our shame. It's overflowing, it's overflowing. Our God is love. It's overflowing, it's overflowing. you so much for worshiping with us. Take a look at the screens for announcements and just get ready for some great baptisms.
Good morning, neighborhood. I'm Audrey, and I'm on the team here. We're so glad you chose to spend part of your weekend here with us today. If you're new today, I want to invite you to the next lounge. It's just to your right as you leave through the lobby. Our team is here to help you feel at home, answer your questions, and help you take your next step here at Neighborhood. And as a little thank you for checking us out, you can grab a free 4-pint glass or coffee mug while you're there. To stay in the loop about everything happening around here, we've set up a page at our website, neighborhoodchurch.org, called The Top 3. We update it weekly with 3 things we want you to know the most. At the top of the list this week is October's 4 Project, Neighborhood Degree's annual trunk or treat party at Houston Neighborhood Park on Saturday, October 25th. This is a fun, family-friendly way to share some Halloween excitement and love with the kids in our community. You can get involved in 2 ways. Bring some Halloween candy and drop it off in the bins outside on Sundays, or our office during the week. And you can sign up to decorate and host a trunk that morning. It's a fantastic way to create joy for kids and connect with families alongside Neighborhood Degree. Then, on Sunday, October 26th, it's our mega awesome costume party here at Neighborhood. Have your kids dressed in their favorite, not so scary costumes. We'll have some trick-or-treating and games around campus. Our favorite food trucks will be here, and a lot more fun and surprises are planned. So invite your friends. The mega awesome costume party is a Sunday you don't want to miss. This past Thursday, we celebrated 16 kids at our baptism bash. And this morning, 5 more will be baptized in our service. Baptism is all about going public, a way to say, I follow Jesus. These moments are a reminder of why we give to the mission of Neighborhood Church. Your generosity helps create spaces for people to experience Jesus, grow in their faith, and taking the next steps like one's happening today. You can give at neighborhoodchurch.org/give. Text NC Visalia to 77977. Or use the giving boxes in the back of the auditorium. Today we're closing out our 30-word series with our lead pastor, Forrest Jenin. Thanks again for being here. We're so glad you joined us.
Hello, Neighborhood. My name is Becky Johnson, and I've believed in God all my life, but I haven't always been consistent in attending church. Over the past several months, I've felt God pulling me back, and I've begun coming regularly again. Through this journey, I've realized that being rebaptized is the next step for me and a way to complete the circle and continue growing in Jesus and within myself. I also want to set an example for my children that even when we stumble or fall in life, we can always get back up and recommit ourselves to God. I was first baptized at the age of 12 after coming home from camp. I remember it so clearly because it was such a meaningful time in my life. Growing up, my parents made sure that we were in church every Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday night, and I was active in the kids' choir and surrounded by friends who were also involved in church, and that foundation kept me from a lot of trouble. Now as an adult, I feel called to rededicate my life to Christ through baptism. This is my way of honoring the faith that was instilled in me as a child, while also renewing my commitment to God as I continue walking forward in His grace. Today I'm here to declare that Jesus is my Lord and Savior. My name is Becky Johnson, and today I'm going public.
All right, Becky, we're gonna have to cover the second half of your life. You know what I mean? Make sure you don't get in trouble.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I loved your video. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Becky, have you received Jesus as your Lord and Savior?
Yes, I have.
Is it your intent to live the rest of your life for Him the best way you know how?
Yes, it is.
Well, then, upon your profession of faith, it really is my joy to baptize you in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Hi, my name is Raquel Padilla, and I've always believed in God, but for a long time I didn't know what it meant to give Him all of me. My life has had a lot of loss and struggle, and in 2023, I faced one of the hardest years of my life. I lost my tia, who was like a second mom to me, and later that year, I lost a close friend that was my age. Those losses, and on top of graduating high school, starting college, and moving away from home, I felt broken, hurt, and even angry at God. and I couldn't understand why he would allow so much pain when I was just trying to do good. Through that season, I began to realize that I hadn't fully healed from the pain of my past. The fear of people leaving, the weight of anxiety were overwhelming. But when I let God in, he gave me the strength to face it. The turning point came the day I decided to go back to church. I walked in hopeless and weighed down, but I walked out with peace and a spark of hope that I hadn't felt in years. And that was when I realized that he had been with me all along. Even when I couldn't see it, he was carrying me. I finally understood the one person who would never leave me was him. And since then, I prayed not just in crisis, but because I truly wanted him in my life. And I can say in confidence, I wouldn't have made it through those dark seasons without him. Today, I'm ready for a new beginning. I'm here to declare that Jesus is my Lord and Savior. My hope moving forward is to lead each day with him at the center of my story. My name is Raquel Padilla, and today, I'm going public.
Well, Raquel, I just pray over you. I just pray that the same grace that has brought you to this place and this circumstance be the same grace that sustains you every choice in the days ahead. Have you received Jesus as your Lord and Savior?
Yes, I have.
Is it your intent to live for him the best way you know how the rest of your life?
Yes, it is.
Well, then upon your profession of faith, it really is my joy to baptize you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Neighborhood, how we doing? We just baptized a couple people. A little more energy, people. This is, yeah, come on. Hey, it's always amazing to get to spend a few minutes with y'all on a Sunday morning. And today, I wanted to talk about July 20th, 1969. Kind of a big day. You should know this day. It was not just big for like America, but it was big really for the whole globe. It was the day that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin dropped down in a lunar module nicknamed the Eagle, and they landed on the surface of the moon. Now, I know some of you do not believe that that happened. Just for the record, we went back 6 times and did the same exact thing. It did, in fact, happen. And as they approached the surface of the moon, Armstrong realizes that the autopilot is not going well. It's steering them straight toward a crater filled with boulders the size of a car. They can't land there. And so he takes it off autopilot, puts it in manual control, and he's now flying sideways across the surface of the moon, looking for somewhere, anywhere flat enough to land, but they're close enough to the Earth. So the engines are blowing up all the space dust. There's very low visibility. Mission control isn't saying a word. They would later say they didn't want to distract Armstrong, and they also didn't want to hear him crash if that happened either, right? And then eventually, Armstrong does find a place flat enough to land with just 30 seconds of fuel left. He lands safely on the surface of the moon, and the famous call comes out. Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. And when they stepped outside, Armstrong and Aldrin, they can feel their hearts pounding. In fact, we know that their hearts went just from stepping out onto the ladder, their heart rate jumped up to 150, 160, just kept rising. And I get why. I mean, one breach in their suit. I mean, there's no oxygen on the moon. There's temperature shifts of 250 degrees either way, cold, hot. One breach in that spacesuit, they're dead. They're dead. And they finally get onto the surface of the moon, and Armstrong immediately, he just scoops up some space dust, puts it in a little pouch, and he called it his just in case. Just in case something went wrong, and they couldn't take any moon rocks or anything else, they'd have at least something to take back home with them from the moon. And they spent 2.5 hours on the surface of the moon. And after they do this, they climb back in, but then things go not as planned. See, Aldrin, he brushes past a button on the control panel, and it's a pretty important button. It's the button that starts the engine, and he breaks it off. And now they don't know what to do. But Armstrong has this amazing idea, and he finds a pin, just a plastic pin. I don't know why they had that on a lunar module. And he shoves it where there was a switch. He just shoves it in the hole. And he starts the engines. And they go home. The engine fires, right? Humanity comes home from the moon. I mean, I just think about that, right? I mean, one broken switch, one plastic pin, 30 seconds of fuel. I mean, that's all that was existing between mission success and mission failure. I mean, it's an incredible picture to me. It's an incredible picture to me of just how fragile our life is, how fragile all of human life is when we're cut off from a source that's sustaining us. I love the story of Armstrong and Aldrin and their moon landing, because for me, it just serves as a reminder that we can have the best training, we can have the absolute best technology, we can have the most brilliant, disciplined, capable people on the planet, and still, they need something beyond themselves to survive. For all the training, for all the technology, for all the courage, Armstrong and Aldrin couldn't live on the moon for 1 second without being connected to something that kept them alive. The fuel, the oxygen from their spacesuit, the warmth and temperature control it provided, the pressure control their suit provided, communication, all of it. They needed it all. Yes, they were explorers, but they were also utterly dependent on a source of life that was outside of themselves. Everything they did, the giant leap, every careful step, was only possible because they remained tethered to the systems that sustained them. And I tell you that story because honestly, that's us. It's us. Because spiritually speaking, we are all walking around in a place we weren't built to survive on our own. Life can be hard, cold, dark, lonely, silent. In fact, Jesus himself even said, I promise you, in this world, if I can promise you anything, it's this: you will have trouble. Life is going to be hard. And yet so many of us behave like we're on the moon without a module or a spacesuit. We're trying to make it on one breath, living as though we don't need to stay connected to a source that can sustain us. See, what those astronauts needed to survive on the moon is exactly what we need to live a full life here on Earth. We were never designed to function in this place all by ourselves. We were designed to be connected to a source outside of ourselves. We were designed to function connected to our Creator, not to live independently of our Creator. Jesus, we could say it like this maybe, is the oxygen for our souls. The one in whom one early Christian leader, quoting a Greek philosopher, said this, that Jesus is the one in whom we live and move and have our being. When we try to go without him, we slowly suffocate. Not all at once, but little by little, our hearts will grow weary, our hope will run thin, our relationships will fracture. It's like we're walking around with a broken spacesuit on, convincing ourselves we're all good, all fine, all the while life is quite literally leaking out. But the good news, and the core message of Christianity is that God didn't stay sort of off in a distance in some other orbit, watching us just sort of grasp for air down here. No, the core message of Christianity is that our Creator came for us. In Jesus of Nazareth, the divine entered our atmosphere and put on a suit with us. He became one of us so that we could once again be connected to our Creator, share in His life with Him. A life that will fill us and sustain us. Now, if you're just joining us, we're actually wrapping up this morning a teaching series that we've been doing for a few weeks that we call 30 Words. And essentially, the series, the big idea is that it's just our attempt at summarizing the core message of Christianity that Christians call the gospel, or the good news message of Jesus. We just want to summarize that message in 30 words. And we think everybody, if you're here and you're a Christian or you're here and you're not a Christian, we think everybody should be interested in these 30 words because Jesus, after all, is the most interesting person that has ever lived. I mean, you can't even argue this point. It's just historically a fact that Jesus, his life changed the trajectory of human history. He's inspired and empowered millions of people to live more loving lives. And he made an outrageous claim that somehow through his life, his death, his miraculous resurrection would create a path for all of us to once again stay connected to our Creator and to share in the life of God. So believer or not, we think you should know, at least be curious about these 30 words that summarize the core message of Christianity. And we call it the gospel. The gospel in 30 words. And here's how it goes. Jesus is God with us, come to show us God's love, save us from sin, set up God's kingdom, and shut down religion so we can share in God's life. Now, if you're just joining us, we've kind of covered from Jesus is God with us all the way to shut down religion. We've covered 23 of the 30 words. And I want to encourage you, if you've missed any of it, man, go back, the audio podcast, you can watch it on YouTube, whatever. But there's a ton of great stuff in there. Today, we're just going to look at so we can share in the last 7 words. That's what we're looking at today. But to help us understand these 30 words, let me kind of break it down for you. So the first little bit, Jesus is God with us, that's what we can call the foundation of the gospel. The foundation of the core message of Jesus is that God did not stay distant in some far off orbit. He came into our atmosphere. He became one of us. The divine became a person in Jesus of Nazareth. That's the foundation. Everything else builds off that one idea. And then comes what we can call the gifts of the gospel. The gift of the core message of Christianity is we get some things from this. That we can observe and participate in God's love. That we're saved from our own sort of self-destructive, I've derailed my life kind of choices. We're saved from that. That we can participate and experience God's rule and reign, his kingdom that he calls it. And then he shut down religion. That we no longer need to jump through religious hoops to stay connected to our Creator. There's actually a way we can do that without jumping through religious hoops. And today, the last 7 words is what we can call the goal of the gospel. The whole point of all of it. The whole point of it is that we get to share in God's life, that we get to stay connected and tethered to the divine. That's the whole point. The goal of Jesus' core message, the goal of the gospel, the good news, is that you and I can move beyond just sort of believing in some Bible stuff and enter into and begin to and somehow participate with Jesus in his life. The early Christians, they actually had a really, really fancy word for this, and the fancy word was theosis. Theosis. Now, I get it. Your eyes are about to glaze over because you're like, I don't need to know theosis. It's never coming up in my life. You're probably right. However, I want to talk about it for just a moment because theosis might be the most important idea you've never heard of. And it can change your life. Theosis is this. It's just simply the idea that God became what we are so that we might share in what he is. that we are meant to participate in Jesus' divine nature, not just believe in Jesus' divine nature. In fact, there was a man who hung out with Jesus, a good friend of Jesus. His name was Peter, and Peter wrote some letters that have survived history, and they're now part of the Christian scripture, what we call the New Testament. And in it, Peter, he talks about participating in the God life, and here's how he says it. He says, through his very great and precious promises, Jesus, you, me, may participate in the divine nature. Now, I don't know about you, but the first time I ever read this, I was like, oh, by participating in the divine nature, does he mean I get to become like a demigod, right? Do I get to be, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie, the Disney Moana, but Maui, the demigod, right? Do I get to be like that character, right? Do I get to be God-like? And there are some faiths out there that would stretch this idea into the idea that, yeah, maybe you get to become God-like in some way. But that's not what Peter's talking about at all. In fact, it's the opposite. For us to participate in the divine nature isn't about us becoming God-like. It's about us becoming human, like fully human, more human, fully alive, fully connected. In fact, at one point, Jesus says, listen, the whole reason I came, the whole reason I'm here, the whole reason I've got a core message is so that you could have life and life to the full as a human, right? And Peter recognizes this, and he's just letting us know, listen, you in fact can't be fully alive and fully living out your potential unless you're fully connected, unless you're participating in Jesus' divine nature. And I think that intuitively we kind of know and kind of understand what connected and unconnected kind of feels like and looks like in our lives. Like we've experienced that. You've experienced disconnection. You know what that's like. I mean, it's those of you in here that are high achieving. I mean, you're a high achieving professional. You've climbed the ladder, you've earned the promotions. I mean, you're there. And yet, there's something hollow about it, and you can't necessarily talk about it or put words to it, or you just kind of know it. I mean, you're successful. You are successful on the outside. But there's a sense that you're suffocating on the inside. Or it's the parent who's present. You're at every game, every recital, every school event, but emotionally, you're checked out. You're going through the motions because you just don't have anything to give. Or it's you last night at 1 a.m. You can't sleep, everyone, and you're just scrolling. You're just doom scrolling, you're checking out everybody else's highlight reel. And in the same moment, you're feeling like overstimulated and completely empty at the same time. I mean, disconnection is sort of having everything you thought you wanted and still knowing something's missing and you don't know where to go get it. And that's the kind of feeling you get when you're cut off from a source of life that's bigger than you and beyond you. And we don't collapse immediately. We just slowly sort of deflate like there's a leak in our spacesuit. I mean, everything's still functioning. You're still fine. You're still moving around. You're still checking boxes, and you look great on the outside. But somewhere deep inside, you know you are slowly running out of air. But the good news is, and I mean, this is the core message of Christianity. This is the gospel. That you can move from disconnected to connected. And some of you know what connected looks like. Connected looks like you're stuck in the school pickup line because there's one person who, even though there's a great big sign that says no left turn, is trying to turn left. And if that's you, be better. Be a better person. That's all I'm saying. And instead of connection, looks like instead of the rage spiral, you're like, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. There's peace, not manufactured calm, but like peace about it. Connection is noticing that you're more patient with your kids, and not because you read some parenting book or read a meme on Instagram or whatever, but that something's just softened in your heart, and it feels like you're no longer sort of white-knuckling dinner and bedtime with your kids. Connection means you're having a hard conversation with a coworker or a spouse or a partner, whatever. And instead of defensiveness, you choose kindness. Not because you're trying to win points, but because love has started to become your default setting. Connection just means you're waking up on a Tuesday morning feeling grateful instead of anxious. And it's not because your day's any better, it's just because something has moved on your interior. That's theosis. That's participating in the divine nature. Peter's vision, when he wrote that, Peter's vision of the Christian life, it's not about escaping this world. You get to escape and you get to go be a little mini God with Jesus. Absolutely not. It's about learning to breathe a new atmosphere while we're here in it, to inhale the life of God until his breath becomes our breath. There was a second century church leader. He described theosis this way: God became what we are, that he might bring us to be what he is. Think of theosis as like a family reunion. It's like kind of heaven and earth coming together. It's God closing the distance between creator and creation. Or it's like a homecoming, this long-awaited moment where we get to take our spacesuit helmets off and realize we're still somehow breathing. Because through Jesus, God isn't like patching a broken suit. He stepped inside of one to join us in our fragility, our fear, our longing, and he's filling all of that with his life. And now we get to walk through a very strange, challenging world. Through the traffic, through the work meetings, through the laundry piles, through the hard conversations, knowing that we can have the air of heaven in our lungs. And now because of that reality, we get to live every moment, every conversation, every meal, every breath tethered to our Creator, to divine love. Because sharing in God's life isn't about escaping this world. It's learning how to live in it well, sustained by something, someone greater than ourselves. The goal of Christianity, the core message of Christianity has never been about, I just need to believe in Jesus and then I'll get to go to heaven when I die. That's ridiculous. That's not the core message of Christianity. Just like the goal of a spacesuit wasn't to get the astronauts off the moon as fast as possible. No. The goal of a spacesuit is to help the astronauts live on the moon, even if just for a few sacred hours, in an environment they otherwise couldn't live in. That's what the life of Jesus does for us. It's not an escape hatch from earth. No. Us connected, tethered to Jesus, that's him giving us the capacity to live a full human life. Fully alive, fully present, in a place that often feels sort of spiritually airless. When we stay connected to Jesus, who is our divine life support, love becomes the oxygen for our souls, allowing us to be transformed and unlocking our potential as people. And if everything I've just said is true, the next question is then how? How do we stay tethered to Jesus? How do we let Or how do we stay connected and let the air of heaven fill our lungs? I mean, how do we do that? I mean, what does it look like? I mean, what does it look like after church at lunch with some friends? What does that look like? And I think it's a great question, and it's a question that Jesus, in fact, deals with. One of his best friends, arguably his best friend, a man named John, actually records what we call today, like Bible nerds will call Jesus' farewell discourse. So it's a series of teachings that Jesus gives before he's sort of done, right? And so this is, and in his farewell discourse, Jesus talks about staying connected to him. And he uses like an agricultural image and metaphor to help us understand it. And we should get that. We live in Central California, right? Fruit basket of the world. Ags all around us. And Jesus looks at his friends. One of the last things he's gonna say to them, and he says this, I'm the vine, and you're the branches. I think we get that, right? Jesus is saying, I'm the vine, as in I'm the source of life, and you and me and all of us, we're the branches. We're the ones sort of invited to come stay connected to the vine. And we know this. The thing about a branch is that it has no life apart from the vine. It doesn't grow fruit just simply because it's trying really hard to grow fruit, right? It has to stay connected to the vine where it can be nourished and sustained and strengthened. That's what the vine does. And Jesus is suggesting, yeah, what's true of the natural world is in fact true of your spiritual world. It's true of those who stay connected to me. Jesus continues and he says, if you remain in me and I in you. And this word remain, it's an interesting word. Remember, John doesn't know English. There is no English to know. John is writing and recording this story in Greek. And the little Greek word meno, that we translate remain, means to stay in one place, to dwell, to make your home in. The idea being, and it's for those of you that are homebodies, you will love this idea. For those of you that think your perfect day is alone, junk food, pajamas, and Netflix, if that's your perfect day, if your perfect day is you're all set up to be home alone, your friends call and say, hey, do you want to go out? And your response is, I can't, I'm busy. If that's you, then you understand what Jesus is talking about. Because Jesus is saying, as it comes to you and I, your posture needs to be that of a homebody. Remain in me. Don't go anywhere. Stay connected. Stay tethered to your divine life support. Jesus is like, it's not about trying harder. It's not about adding a thing. Just stay home with me. If you remain in me and I in you, Jesus adds, something will happen. He says it like this, you will bear much fruit, right? A branch connected to the vine is gonna produce. It's gonna produce a crop. And Jesus is saying, yeah, if you stay connected, if you stay tethered, if you use me as your life support, as you use me as the thing that's sustaining you, then your life, your attitude, your relationships, your words, your way of being is going to start to look different. Something is going to grow in you, not because you've tried really hard for something to grow in you, but because you've simply stayed connected to the source of life that is outside of you. And this is a big deal, because Jesus, in fact, doesn't come up with the vine branch illustration. The time of Jesus, ancient Judaism, 2,000 years ago, that was already something, an image that Jewish teachers and religious sages used. But they would say, the vine is religious law. If you stay connected to religious law, your life will bear much fruit. And Jesus shows up, remember, part of the gift of the gospel, the core message of Christianity, is that he came to shut down religion. He came to shut down the idea that your life will bear fruit only if you stay connected to religious law. And so instead, he's replacing religious law with him. God in flesh. Stay connected to me. Stay tethered to divine love. Let me be the oxygen for your soul. And you will produce. Your life will produce. Your life will shift. Now the question we have to ask is, well, I'm gonna need some more details here, Jesus. Like, if I stay connected to you, I'm gonna bear fruit. Yeah, what are we talking about here? Jesus actually doesn't really give us much. But later, a couple of decades later, an early Christian convert named Paul would actually write down what he thought this fruit would look like. And he actually called it the fruit of the Spirit. And we called it that because early Christians and Christians today believe even though Jesus isn't physically present, that we can still stay connected. We can still stay tapped in and tethered to his divine energy and presence and flow. That his Spirit is everywhere all the time and we can actually connect to it. And so Paul says, listen, if you stay tethered, if you stay connected to Jesus, then your life will produce fruit. And this fruit looks like love, joy, peace, forbearance, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. That's what's gonna grow. Stay connected to your divine life support. That's what grows. Not because you tried really hard to be loving, but because something shifted and grew inside of you because you were breathing in the oxygen of heaven. That's the argument being made here. Staying connected to that vine, and you will grow. Remain at home with Jesus, and love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and goodness and faithfulness and gentleness and self-control. That's what will grow. That's the fruit you will bear. Again, it's not a complicated image, right? Think of an apple tree. It's not like straining or sweating to grow apples. It just stays rooted to its life force and its life flow, and apples are produced. The same is true with us and Jesus. Stay connected and love begins to show up where there was anger. Joy begins to break through where there was anxiety. Peace and calm where it felt like your life was very chaotic internally. Patience where there was impatience. Kindness becomes your default rather than just the exception when you're having like a really good day or whatever. Now, if you're here and you're not a Jesus person, doesn't that just sound good? Isn't it worth exploring? If there's a possibility that you could stay connected to divine energy that would change your life in such a way that you became more loving and patient and had more self-control and you were, who doesn't want that? But then Jesus makes a really crazy claim. He says, listen, apart from me, you can actually do nothing. To which we gotta say, that's not true, Jesus. Like I know lots of people not connected to you that they've done some stuff. They've built companies, they've written symphonies, they've cured diseases, they've raised good kids. I mean, what are you getting at here, Jesus? Because I think you can be productive without you. And Jesus is not arguing that point here. Again, he's talking about being fully alive and fully human. He's saying, yeah, you can be productive and be successful without me, but you will kind of suffocate doing it. You will build an impressive life without Jesus, but there are gonna be some holes. Because disconnected from the vine, untethered from your divine life support, you can have activity but not life. You can have motion but not meaning. You can have accomplishment but not abundance. And it's the same with us. I mean, we can be busy and efficient and successful and impressive and disconnected to Jesus. And so as a result, you wouldn't actually be bearing fruit. Your life wouldn't be more loving or kind or patient. Go back to the astronaut imagery. Neil and Buzz. When they land, they have 30 seconds of fuel left. They are quite literally running on fumes. Is that true of you? Are you running on fumes? Thinking that one day your belief that if you just get through today, everything's gonna be okay, that thought is gonna become true one day, because it's not. I think so many of us are trying to do life with 30 seconds of fuel. And Jesus is like, what are you doing? Let me show you. You may be thinking, this is impossible for us. It can't be done. I mean, maybe if we sold the house and moved to a monastery in the hills of France or something, maybe. But come on. So let me just show you one example of one guy's life. One example, one guy's life, and then we gotta go. I've been talking too long. Man's name is Frank Lubbock. He was a missionary to Muslims in the Philippines. He became known as the apostle to the illiterates. He launched a literacy movement that was called Each One Teach One that went on to help 60 million people learn to read in their own language. The man was busy. Meetings, travel, teaching, strategy, on and on and on and on. He ran a huge organization. But somehow, right in the middle of all of that, Frank figured out how to stay aware of Jesus' presence, how to stay connected, tethered to divine life support. And he actually began an experiment early on, and he wrote a bunch of letters that now are in a book called Letters from a Modern Mystic. You should read it. And he began an experiment. He said, listen, I just want to know if it's actually possible to do what we've been talking about this morning. Can I stay connected to Jesus? Can I remain with Jesus? Can I stay on the vine? I just want to know. And here's what he writes early on. Here's what he writes. God, I want to give you every minute of this year. I also try to keep you in mind every moment of my waking hours. I also try to let you be the speaker and direct every word. I also try to let you direct my acts. I also try to learn your language. Let's see how Frank did years later. I've tasted a thrill in fellowship with God, which has made anything discordant with God disgusting. God was so close and so amazingly lovely that I felt like melting all over with a strange, blissful contentment. My soul feels as clean as new fallen snow. Could you write that sentence? Have you ever experienced a moment where God was so close and amazingly lovely that it felt like melting all over with a strange, blissful contentment? Frank figured it out. Frank was a busy man in a modern world. I want that for me. I want that for you. But more importantly, your Creator wants that for you. Jesus wants that for you. Forget running on fumes. Let's write letters like that. I don't have any magic for you on how to do this. Maybe start with just 1-2 minutes of sitting silent with Jesus every morning and just say, Jesus, today, I just want to be aware that you're with me. Maybe set up reminders on your phone every couple of hours to just remind you, Jesus is with you. Jesus is with you. Maybe if you've never opened up one of the biographies of the life of Jesus, maybe just do that. Just start to read about the life of Jesus. Maybe knowing something a little bit more about Jesus might help you feel connected to Jesus. Maybe if you don't pray, to start to pray. And maybe your argument is, I don't know what to pray. So tomorrow in your continue the conversation email, I wrote a prayer for you. Just pray this prayer every day this week. It takes like 10 seconds. In fact, I'm gonna close and I'm gonna pray this prayer over you and we'll get out of here. Because at the end of the day, the invitation for the last 2,000 years has simply been from Jesus, remain in me and I'll remain in you. And as a result, you'll breathe freely again. And something will grow inside of you, something will shift in your life. You won't be on fumes. Your life will be more loving and patient and kind and controlled. something will grow, something will shift when you stay connected to divine life support. Let me pray this over you. Jesus, I want to stay connected to your presence. I really want to see you, not through old traditions, not through what culture says about you, but to see you as you truly are. The same Jesus who walked this earth with humility, who sat with the broken and loved the forgotten, and who still chooses to redeem and restore today. Help me see you clearly, follow you closely, and live in a way that reflects your heart. Amen. All right, you guys, have a great rest of your week. Prayer team will be up here, and guests, our next lounge. We'll see you later.